Okay, this is the second part of the video series. This is about the operation of the Mkove MK75 Battery Monitor. What I'd like to show you first of all, however, is a system that we've got set up, which is a test system. And this is a battery box which has the battery monitor running, and inside of it is a lithium 100 amp hour battery. So you can see here the wiring, which is fairly straightforward. So we have the 4 wires from the battery monitor, the two battery positive and battery minus of these 2 wires here, straight to the terminals of the battery positive, battery minus, and then the sense negative and the sense positive wires are the 2 running from the shunt, which is here. Okay, when it's all put together like that, that's a really good system. It's a lithium battery, so it's much better than a lead acid battery normally. The plug here is our input and output, so we can plug in any loads or sources to that, and this battery monitor shows us what's happening with those at all times. Okay, we're looking at the operation of the Mkove battery monitor. The interface is fairly simple. You have a display here which shows you the voltage at the top there, the amps, which is the current flowing into or out of the battery. That's also converted into watts, the equivalent of whatever watts that is going into or out of the battery. And then the key item is the state of charge. So this battery is at 89.44% charged, and you can see on the right hand side there is a state of charge indicator which shows you the battery is pretty much full at this point. Now this is a real in-use battery, so this is actually the state of charge of this 100 amp hour lithium battery system. Let's have a look at how the menus operate. So we have 4 buttons. Menu always takes us into the next part of the whatever we're looking at, and back always takes us back out. Okay. When we're in a section, we can go through the various options by pressing the buttons or holding the buttons down to go through various options. Okay. So let's have a look at some of those options. So the first thing is we go to menu. First option here is about. That's the about screen. It shows us the version number of the firmware that's installed, the hardware version as well. There's only been 2 hardware versions so far, and anything else that needs to be notified. Then we come up to reset. We have 2 reset options. We have reset data, which resets just the current data from the currently running state of the battery monitor, and factory reset, which is a way of resetting, as you can see, to let you reset it back to the way it was on the day you bought it. So that's a full reset of everything, including the Wi-Fi information, the battery settings, and everything else of the battery monitor. Okay, let's go back out of there. We'll go to first of all data. Data has information about this cycle, so what's happened during this cycle, and by cycle what that means is from when it was last full until it becomes full again. That's one cycle. Okay, for a cycle to count, it needs to get down below 80% of charge. So if the battery runs down to 85%, then back up to full, that doesn't count as a cycle. But if it runs down below 80%, then it will count as a cycle and get recorded. This is what's happened on the current cycle. So our highest volts has been 14.47 and the lowest has been 13.07. We've charged 10.32 amp hours and we've discharged 20. Okay, and that makes sense because the battery is 90% full. It's a 100 amp hour battery. So we've discharged about 20% of the system, and we've put back in about 10% of the system, leaving us at 90%. And the lowest state of charge that's been in this cycle was 81.1%. Okay, if we go to last cycle, it shows us data about the last cycle that's been recorded. There's none yet on this system. And if we go to all cycles, again, there's nothing recorded yet for this system, but it will show you all of the cycles. All of the cycles shows you how many times we've been below 75%, how many times we've been below 50%, and how many times we've been below 25%, and so on. For the last cycle, data. For the last cycle, that will show you what happened in the last cycle. So from full, back up to full again, down below 80%, back up to full again. That's the information that's provided there is what happened in that cycle. Okay, let's have a look at the settings. The settings are left to last, so that's probably the most the most number of options there. First of all, very important is battery settings. We need to set the battery type, which in this case is an LFP or lithium ferrous phosphate or LiFePO4 battery. And you have choices, which is lithium ion, lithium polymer, lead acid, and we'll leave it back at lithium ferrous phosphate. Okay. Then we have number of battery cells. Normally that can be set to auto. There's some situations where if you have a lot of lithium ion cells or lithium polymer cells, it may be better to set the actual number of cells. We can change it to whatever we have, but we'll just leave it auto for now. And then finally the battery capacity, we can change that from whatever it is up or down to the correct battery capacity of the system. Okay. And again, we'll just make sure that's set to 100. Okay. Then the next settings option is to set full. Set full, if you know your battery's full, you can set full. Normally it's better to let it work it out itself. In fact, an important thing to note is that if you set full manually by doing this, that won't count as a cycle. It would prefer to have itself detect a full battery and then go down below 80% and back up to full again in its own detection for a cycle to be counted. If you just manually choose set full, that won't count as a cycle in that case. So we can do that here, choose OK to set the full state. Then we have 0 amps. This is rarely used, but if you ever had a situation where with nothing connected to the battery, this wasn't showing 0, then you can come up to the menus, choose settings, and to choose 0 amps. That lets you set the amps rating to 0 based on what's currently going in or out of the battery. Generally they just stay at 0 and work correctly. Shunt calibration, that's an important one. This battery monitor can be used with really any shunt. The one that we have been looking at is a 150 amp 50 millivolt shunt, but you can get a larger one or a smaller one and connect it to this battery system, and you can adjust this value here to make the battery monitor calibrated with whatever type of shunt you have. Yeah, so you can get different shunts, and there's a formula for it, which is what to divide the millivolts by the amps, and it's quite a simple formula, and that's in the manual for the battery monitor. Okay. There's more than one page of settings. There's in fact 3 pages, I think, or maybe 4. Network is important. This shows you the current state of the network. It's currently on, and it's connected to this Wi-Fi network. OTA update. OTA stands for over the air. We can update the firmware of these, and we actually have found a newer version. So if we wanted to, we can install the newer version of the firmware at this point, but we won't. Okay. And then remote is a new section that we have. Remote lets you view your battery monitor's data from anywhere in the world. It goes through the internet. That's again on our website is information about the remote system. But once you have your battery monitor connected with Wi-Fi to a network, then you can turn on the remote option, and using that ID that it provides on the screen, you can go to a page that we provide and see your battery monitor from anywhere in the world. That can be on your phone, on your computer. You can have a server read the information, whatever you want to do with that information from there. Then we have brightness. That's just simply the screen brightness. We can change that from 1 to 10. And we leave it on 5. Then we have display mode. Display mode is it essentially controls when the display is on or off. Okay. In auto, what that means is that if there's nothing really happening after a period of time, the screen will go off to save a little bit of power. Okay. But in auto mode, if there's more than 1% of your battery capacity going into or out of the system, it'll bring the display to life automatically. So this one with a 100 amp hour battery, if more than 1 amp is going into or out of the battery system, as soon as that happens, no matter what's happening on the display, it will come to life and show you the activity. The other option is to have it set to manual, in which case you just have to manually press a button to bring the screen to life. Okay, we'll leave that set at auto. And then we have the display timer. You can set how long the display stays on after the last activity, including activation auto mode, until it goes back off again. So at the moment it's set for half an hour. We can have 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour. This is set for 30 minutes. Okay. Then that's the end of the settings. So we've gone right through the whole 3 pages of settings, and that's the majority of how to operate it. Key things to note is that in the display also you have the down the bottom is the battery type and how many cells it has, and up the top right hand corner is the Wi-Fi indicator. Wi-Fi on this system can be 1 of 2 modes. It can be in station mode or access point mode. Access point mode means that this provides a network that you can connect to. Okay, so if you're somewhere remotely, you can set this to access point mode, and you can connect to it and view the data on your phone or your laptop or whatever you want to view it from. Whereas station mode means that this becomes a station on an already existing network. So station mode means you've already got a Wi-Fi network, either a mobile one or wherever you live or whatever, and you can connect this battery monitor to that network, and that's what's called station mode. For some of the things to work, like the over-the-air updates, and also for the remote function to work, you need to be connected in station mode, because in station mode you have access to the internet presumably, whereas in access point mode this thing does not have access to the internet because it's providing a server for you to connect to. Okay, so they're the key things. I think that's the main parts of it. Let's have a look at some loads going into or out of the system. First of all, I'll connect an LED light. You probably see the brightness of that appearing, and you can see that that's drawing 0.42 amps, which is the equivalent of 5.55 watts. And if we left this connected, that would slightly bring down the state of charge of the battery monitor. Okay, so that's the light connected. That's a load on the battery. We've also got a charging source, which is a power supply here. If I turn that on, that's now charging the battery at 2 amps. So we've got a power supply set to provide 2 amps of current into the battery system. You'll see the voltage will change. The watts is showing the current watts, and it's showing 89.43% still, but that should slightly come up again. If I turn that off, you can see straight away it goes back down to 0 amps. Okay, as soon as I turn it back on again, it goes to 2 amps. Now these things are very accurate. What I'm going to do now is change the current going into the battery monitor by 100th of an amp. Okay, so let's go up by 1. There we are, 2.01 amps. I'm going to change it again by another 100th, if I can get to it. And we're now at 2.02 amps. So you can see by changing the load or the supply current by even 100th of an amp, that reflects straight away on the battery monitor system and it doesn't wander. Okay, I think that's the majority of what I wanted to show you for the operation of the battery monitor. Hope you enjoyed the videos. I'd just like to demonstrate one more thing, which is the remote function. This is a fairly new thing for us. It was introduced in January 2023. This page here is the link for the remote monitoring software. The URL for it is remote.mkovedata.com. If you go to our website, which is just mkove.com, there's a link to the remote section, and from there you get the link to this page. We have lots and lots of battery monitors already connected to our servers. We even put on this page here our test unit ID, which is the one we just viewed in the previous video. And if we enter that, you can copy and paste that from there to there and give it a name, press enter, and we're now viewing the live data of the battery monitor, and this can be viewed from anywhere in the world. So if we have a look at it, that's now currently connected to a solar panel. Remember, it was about 89%. It's now come up a few tenths of a percent. It tells us the voltage, the amps, the watts again, and the state of charge, just like the battery monitor itself, but you can view this data from anywhere in the world. The refresh rate on this information is every 15 seconds, so have a look at it here. That's 11 seconds ago, 13 seconds ago, 15 seconds ago, and it refreshes every 15 seconds. So let's have a look. Is anything going to change here? We've got 15.23 watts and 89.67%. When it gets to 15 seconds, so it's 0.23 and 0.67. Okay, so that changed, the watts changed, and also the state of charge increased by 1/100th of 1%. And that's how you can view your remote data. So this system, you just simply go to remote, turn it on. As long as your battery monitor is in station mode, you then write down or copy the remote ID that it provides. It's unique to every battery monitor. And if you come to this page, then you can view your data from anywhere in the world. Thanks again.